of the things that I love about Joan Jaworski is that she's so joyful. Every time I meet with her or talk with her, I come away feeling lighter and happier. Here's a woman who's lived through pretty much everything: a world war, the loss of family and friends, even a pandemic. And yet she always finds a way to laugh, to see the joy, and to make others also see and feel the joy. She's just got a really great heart and a generosity of spirit.
Jesus said, visit the sick. My mom actually does it. She'll go to the hospital and visit. She used to go to the hospital. It's a little tough for her these days when she's over 100, but those are the examples that parents should set for their kids, because these things follow multi-generations. I would describe my mom as stubborn? No, not really. Yeah, well.
Loving?
Yeah, she's loving. That's it. Generous, courteous, kind, obedient, and
Grateful.
grateful.
St. Joe Highschool has so many students that excel in sports and studies and everything. So St. Joe High is doing the most they can to promote the education of their students. Regarding the school, everybody should contribute what they can, because we need to keep this school going, and every little bit helps. So the more we are able to do with the more money we get, makes a better reputation for the school. So just give from the heart as much as you can.
Everything about Joan Jaworski is generous. She has been of service to so many civic organizations, and she reminds us that each of us, when we do our part, no matter how small it might seem to us, when we share our talents and our gifts, both tangible and intangible, collectively and over time, we can do great things. And I feel so grateful and so blessed to know Joan Jaworski, and on behalf of St. Joseph High School, just want to thank her for her generosity of spirit and for everything she's contributed to our community over the past several decades. Joan, you've truly made a difference. Thank you.
Do widzenia. Do miłego zobaczenia. Farewell till we meet again.
Anyway,
Yeah.
how long have you lived in this house? When did you move in? What year? You remember?
Well, there's a 63, somebody made 1963 on the down the basement.
That's 68. Bob wrote that in
Oh,
paint.
it must have been 63 then, I don't know.
What year did you move in Diamond Avenue?
Well, let's see, it was Judy and Jim already
Yeah.
born.
Bob was born in 52 or 53.
Yeah.
So it was before that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because then Bob was born on Diamond, you were born on Diamond.
Were you born on Linden Avenue?
Yep. Yeah. Crum and I were both born on Linden Avenue.
You know when your folks moved in there? Is that where Grandma Markowski lived?
Yeah, she lived, that was her house. And then my mother and father both lived from her.
Did she build that house? Or did she buy it from somebody?
I think it was from her second husband.
Mendlikowski owned that house?
Yeah, I think so.
Where did she live before that then?
On Western Avenue, they had a building out there.
They lived upstairs or what?
Yeah, and he had, on one side he was a shoemaker, And then there was a saloon, and Grandma ran the saloon. And even making shoes, and they lived upstairs.
So what did she do before she met Mandlikowski?
Well, she came from Poland.
Well, she married Markowski, didn't she?
Yeah. And I guess all the kids were born here. But there's a picture of her, the whole family in that thing. And all the kids are here, the ones that were born here. So she came from Poland. Her name was Pilarski. And she married Markowski, and then she had, let's see, Steve, August, Clem, 3 boys, I think. And then the girls, Laura, Martha, and who else? Let's see, I'd have to write this down so I could come right out and tell you. And now I'm guessing now, I don't even remember. So, but then I don't know when Markowski died, and I don't know when
Oh, that's all right.
she married. Okay, what do I got here? I have. Oh, they're doing it good. Well, let's talk about Markowski Mindlikowski. She died in July 21st, 1850. She was born. The 21st of July, 1850. She died May 1st, 1942. That was Grandma Markowski.
She lived to see a lot of things if she was born in 1850 and died in 42.
She was born in 1850 and died in 42. I kept this.
So in 42, was Josie already living with you then?
Oh yeah, she was living with us too. She was living.
When did she come to live with you? How
I
old was she?
I was in grade school.
Really?
I remember we used to sit on the front porch. Josie was living out. I was in grade school then, and we used to sit on the front porch, and all the neighbor girls, the ladies, used to come. Nikki and all those girls used to come on the front porch. We used to visit. I used to sit there and listen to them. And then when Grandma died, 42, Josie went to Chicago.
So how did she wind up with? Oh, okay.
Grandma left her some money, so she bought an apartment house in Chicago, Josie.
Uh-huh.
And then her mother and father had an apartment there in Chicago, but then since she bought an apartment house, then they moved in with her.
Is that why she went to Chicago? So
Yeah.
the folks would live with her?
No, since she lived with us because she was supposed to take care of Grandma. Supposed to comb her hair and take care of her. That's why she lived in South Bend, Josie.
Is that it?
She had a little room upstairs.
Yeah.
So when Laura and Frank moved to Chicago, they left Josie here so she would take care of Grandma.
Did Grandma need taken care of?
Well, she needed to have a
Was she infirm?
Oh yes, no, she was fine. She went to church. Dad took her to church all the time in her car. So, but they just, I don't know whether she wanted Josie to live there or what, but Josie had her own room.
I was just wondering if Frank and Laura couldn't afford to take care of her.
I don't know, but I think his work, Frank worked for some hotel. He was a doorman or something. So that's, and then they, Konechny's were, I think they had to move because Konechny's were supposed to get that store. They had a grocery store there, a butcher shop. So then I think they had to move because Konechny's wanted to hold the apartment and the whole store.
Well, who lived upstairs then? Konechny?
Yeah, they lived upstairs. He bought the store. They lived upstairs. And
I see.
Then they had a grocery store downstairs.
Was that before or after World War II?
Well,
I thought Sophie was about your age.
Dad was already home, so it was after, because he was in the army. My father was home. It was after the war.
So what was Frank doing in South Bend for a living?
I have no idea. I know she was sewing for people, but I don't know what he was doing. That's why he was looking for a job. And then he had a job at the, what do they call it? It's a big celebration. They have all kinds of nations come in.
The World's Fair.
Right. Yeah. He was in charge of the French quarters of the World's Fair. 1933. He was in charge of that. So then
But he was living in South Bend.
well, that's when they moved to Chicago because he had that job. So then they finally moved to Chicago from
Well,
here.
that's what I'm trying to find out, because he moved to Chicago for that job, but you said that down in Sophie didn't start their store until after World War II.
I
It was
don't
10
remember.
years, 10, 15 years later.
I don't remember when they did. I just remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that a job offer came.
And that's when you went to
That's
Chicago.
when they went to Chicago. So they let Josie here.
I see.
And then Josie's brother was here too, but there was no room. We didn't have any more rooms because my mother and dad had a bedroom upstairs, and, well, like 2 bedrooms. And then Josie had a bedroom, and Busha had a bedroom downstairs, so there was no room for Bert.
Where'd you sleep?
I slept with my mother, my brother slept with my father.
Really?
Yeah, we only had 2 bedrooms, and Josie had a 3rd one.
Where was the second bedroom? Where that living room was on the upstairs?
Yeah, the living room was in the middle.
Huh.
In the middle, yeah, it was a bedroom. And then when Judy and Jim were born, then
You came later though.
they converted the attic into an apartment. All they did is put in the kitchen and the bathroom. So then we lived there till Jim came. And then we decided we had living upstairs, we were afraid the kids were going to fall down the stairs. So we decided to look around. So then we bought the house on Diamond. And then when the other 2 kids, then we had Bobby Lou came. And then it started to get dark on Diamond, and Dad says, we got to get out of here.
That's probably a good thing.
So we started looking for, but we had nice neighbors. Pajakowskis lived across the street, and Powell's lived across the street. We had nice neighbors, and we started.
Well, they eventually moved to.
Oh yeah.
They're all out of that neighborhood, and I'd say a quarter of the houses are gone, just empty lots.
Oh yeah. Either that or boarded up.
Well, they don't stay boarded
But
up.
I was in grade school. I never thought to ask my mother questions. Like,
Like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, like when did Grandma marry Mendy Kresge, and did he have any children? Somebody that we should remember? Or, I mean, I never thought of it. I was in grade school. I didn't know any better. And Grandma I remember sitting here in the rocker in the living room. And if the rocker was moving, she was awake. If the rocker was still, then she was quiet. So us kids were always walking around on our tiptoes. So we wouldn't wake Busha up. But that's the way it was. And then when Grandma finally died and Josie left.
How come? Because of the money? She had money then?
Well, Grandma gave her money, so she moved to Chicago. She bought that apartment house.
What all the property that Grandma had?
Okay, Sister Store.
That's on the corner or what?
Florence and College.
So Florence is the one that ran parallel with Linden. 1 street over.
Yeah.
Isn't that where Uncle Gus lived too?
Yep, Uncle Gus on Florence. It was all in Florence. Grandma had property on Florence. So she gave my dad Sister Store, and then she gave Gus a lot. So he built his own house on the back of the lot, and he gave Martha the house. There was a house there.
Next door to Linden Avenue?
No.
Didn't you have a relative living next door to you on Linden Avenue?
Oh, well, we're talking on Florence Avenue.
We are, but I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, Uncle Steve lived there.
So
Dad's brother lived there.
So was that Grandma's property too?
Yeah, Steve got that house. So all the children got property. So he got that house.
What about the lot on Hertzer?
I guess that was my dad's too. I don't know how he got that. I think I never knew how he got possession of that, but that belonged to him. because my dad promised that he would build a house for her there. And I think that was, Grandma was still living. No, wait a minute. Because you guys, oh yeah, because one of them must have been Clem or me. She used to take us in the buggy. I think she said both of us. She'd take us in the buggy. You walked all the way down there, look at the lot where the dad said he would build a house.
That's a long walk.
Oh, but she just wanted to go look at it. So then we were supposed to build, and Grandma says, as long as I'm living, you gotta live in this house and take care of me, because Josie's not here anymore. So then it was between my dad, my mother, and my mother-in-law. So she knew it was driving my dad crazy. So she said, then forget it. She said, let's just stay here. And she says, well, maybe we can build it when she's gone.
Well, when she's gone, you don't have to.
Yeah, when she's gone, we already paid for the house. It was our house. We already paid for it.
So what, they sold the lot to Verna and Hank?
Yeah, and then they sold it.
So Jaja had that already, right?
Yeah, then they says, well, I don't know how we got to talking, but they said, there's a lot available. And so they said, well, can we buy it? So I don't know what they paid for it. I have no idea, but it's between my dad and them. So and then the lot was small, so they couldn't build like this. They had to build like sideways. They didn't have much room at all.
So when Uncle Clem came back from the war, and he was living over by Drury's, wasn't he?
On Medora. On Medora, yeah.
Why'd they live over there?
Uh,
Just to get away from Bouchard?
well, they had nothing to do with Blue Shop. This was my brother.
Yeah, I know, but Aunt Mary was married to your brother.
Yeah. So I think they bought, I can't remember whether they bought that, I think they bought the house when he got back. But I don't remember where, they had the twins on Medora.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where Mary was living while he was in service.
Were they married before or after the war?
No, they got married after he came back. That was it.
They had that double wedding.
Yeah, we had a double wedding when they came back. Then they needed the house, so he bought the house on Medora.
What church did they get married in?
St. Hedwig, because that's where Uuuuh lived, and that's where the girls were brought up.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a lot of churches over there. That's why I asked. Because there was another church back there behind where Copsa Home is.
Oh, that's
in the Laurel area?
St. Stephen's.
St. Stephen's.
Yeah.
So I didn't know whether they were a member there or not.
St. Stephen's, I think, is Hungarian. I don't know.
Well,
or German. But this is a Polish church. This is St. Hedwig's.
I know.
That's
so was St. Adelma's.
Yeah, that's what the family belonged. So we had, they were married. Yeah, they were married on the same day as Verna, because the Uuuuh said, well, we can't afford two weddings. They said, we'll get married on the same day. So we invited the same people and the same church and the same. So that worked out fine. So then Frank and Verna lived on Hartzer, and Clem and Mary lived on Medora.
So why did they move to Michigan City?
I think Clem got a job there. What was it? He was working for Burroughs, Burroughs, the typewriter thing.
Really?
Yeah, and he was a salesman, and he wasn't making very much money, so I think that they let him go. I don't know. But then I don't know how he wound up in Michigan. I think he started working for somebody in Michigan City. He was an accountant, and he was working for somebody in Michigan City. And then when he retired, then he'd start working for Jamar at the outlet. He was working there part-time.
He was in sales before he retired, though, for working for Jamar Ruby.
He was an accountant. Yeah, he was working for some accounting firm in Michigan City. I think that's why he went there. He got a job there. That's why they moved there.
He was working in sales a long time before he retired, though.
Oh, yeah.
So he wasn't an accountant very long, was he?
Well, I don't know. All the while they lived in Michigan City, and all their kids were born there. Well, no. The twins were born. Oh, wait a minute. The twins were born on Medora.
Mm-hmm.
So Connie they were the last two. So there was Connie, John,
and Jean.
and Jean. They were all.
Connie was oldest.
They all had to be born here because the twins were the last two.
No. The twins are older than John.
Okay.
Because they're about 60 now. So they're about 2 years older than John.
But
or
I
something
can't
like
remember any other kids here on Medora.
that. Maybe there wasn't any.
Probably not. They were all born to. They got to Michigan City because my mother used to run across Measle Park for one week to watch the twins, and then Polubiak from around Chapin Street. She would walk away from there to help with the twins. They were taking
No other way to get around, really.
Oh wow! So then,
People of that generation were used to walking. Josh, I used to walk from Linden Avenue downtown South Bend once a month to pay his bills in person.
through the cemetery.
Mm.
And he always wanted to buy peanut butter. Give me fresh peanut butter. They grind it.
Oh, you mean at the planter's shop down there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things about downtown South Bend I don't miss, but that's one thing I do.
Yeah,
The whole downtown smelled great, like roasted peanut.
They called it something. I don't know. It had a name. But he would walk there to the bank or to get his peanut butter.
Hmm.
So
Well, Nipsco was by the South Shore Station.
this South Shore was
That's
still
LaSalle and Michigan Street.
Yeah, because my mother used to go to. Well, I used to go to see Josie on the South Shore.
Yeah.
And
You could flag them down, couldn't you?
Huh?
You could flag the train down as it was leaving town and get on.
Yeah, on College Street. They had the stop for traffic on College. So when it stopped, if you were standing there, they'd pick you up.
Uh-huh.
And they'd drop you off on College too. All you have to do is tell the conductor. So I would go, maybe every 2 months I would go visit Josie. I go like 7:30 in the morning, and people were getting on from South Bend and from all and I would walk from a station to Ohio Street, where she lived. I would walk.
Then on the south side,
Yeah, well, it was in town.
when it wasn't in the loop. It was in the loop.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, station is Randolph Street. It's the last stop. South Shore stops at Randolph. Doesn't go any farther. That's the last stop. And then on the way back, I take the South Shore, but Frank would walk me to the station. And 4:30, the same people that left it for 7:30, the same people were coming back at 4:30
But they're still doing that.
from Chicago. Oh yeah, commuting.
That's right.
Oh yeah. So I did that a couple times, and then when Laura passed away, then he hooked on to some woman, and she got her hands on him, and she was living there. And then when Dad and I went there, it was sort of touchy thing. I mean, what are you doing here? Josie's not here anymore. Would you come for? It was one of those things.
You mean when she passed away?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then he just quit
I
going.
thought he was mad because he didn't get everything and she left some stuff to you.
Oh, that was another thing. Yeah. Well, I was supposed to get half the estate because that property was worth over $40,000. So it said half. But see, the money that I was supposed to get was supposed to be for Gus and Edith for the nursing home.
Yeah.
That was the understanding. That Grandma said, "Well, I'm gonna leave you the money, but I want you to take care of Gus and Edith. I want somebody to take care of them." So that's what I told Frank at that time. I said, "That money's not for me. It's for Gus and Edith." And he says, "Well, just put them in a nursing home and forget about it." I said, "You can't do that. You have to pay."
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, and then that woman, I don't know, she says, well, I guess they didn't believe me, I don't know. And then I got myself a Polish lawyer, and they told me I should have got a Jewish lawyer. So, and then they had meetings there, and he never told me about it. He went himself in my name, and I was a country bumpkin, so I didn't, don't tell her anything, just do what you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was that Frank had one of the guys, one of the witnesses or somebody to the will was a friend of Josie's, and I couldn't understand why he didn't stick up for her. And then when she had a new furnace put in, well, Frank claimed that he paid for it, and she told me she paid for it. So I should have had her give me the receipts, so I could, give it to the people. Tell no, he didn't pay. Well, he was only a doorman at the hotel. How could he afford something like that?
Well, if he's claiming that he paid for it, he should have had receipts too.
Yeah, but he didn't. And then, like I say, the lady in South Bend, she doesn't know anything, so. And they believed him. They believed everything he was telling them. And I couldn't protect myself because I never knew they were having meetings. They had a meeting. Well, my Dad and I went once.
Yeah, I know, you took me with you.
Yeah, and we were supposed to see a lawyer. That lawyer was supposed to buy my interest in that. When we went there, he was out of town. So I don't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing.
No, I think you got screwed.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, because I think I only got 11,000 out of the whole thing.
Oh boy.
That's all. And I was supposed to get at least 20,000 or 25,000. But then my lawyer took 6,000. I thought to myself,
Of course
you didn't do anything for me. You were supposed to stick up for me. I was supposed to get half of that. So I was upset with him. I told him, I said, well, you didn't speak up for me at all. You don't deserve this money. You didn't even go to bat for me. But like I said, I was out of town, and they didn't bother with me because I was a female, and I didn't know any better, and I didn't have my own lawyer. I had a Chicago lawyer, but I didn't have any Jaworski. I was going to ask him to go with me, to meetings over there. But then that never happened, so then I had to get a Chicago lawyer, and that's what messed things up. But then Josie was your godmother.
Yeah.
And then I think when I went to claim the insurance, what was it? It was only like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 or something. It wasn't much at all. So we got that, and that's all. So all that was all forgotten. And then when Josie died, they called Father Roman. They wanted him to have the service, but they didn't give him any money or anything. He had to go down there on his own, pay his own fare. And Dad and I went to the funeral, and I can't remember the church. I don't think we went to church. I think we went from the funeral home directly to the cemetery. And then the division of dividing the jewelry and everything. Well, fortunately, when she was still alive, she gave me a cape, a mink cape. It's still upstairs. And then she had a mink coat yet too. And I understand that Frank gave it to the colored maid, mink coat. It's floor-length mink coat. And then the jewelry he gave to the maid, all that stuff. So all I remember is getting is the mink cape. And she gave that to me while she was still living in this.
So did you always go to St. Stan's when you were in elementary school?
Yeah, well, we lived on Linden, so it was the closest school.
You didn't go to Linden School at all. You went to St. Stan's.
Yes, I did go to Linden. And I got lice. Yeah, I went to kindergarten there.
No kidding.
Because it was across the street, and I could walk. We could walk across the street, so then, of course, my mother then, I think just 1 year kindergarten. And then the first year, I think I started at St. Stan's.
You had chickens there, right?
Backyard?
Yeah.
Oh.
How many?
Oh.
Dozen? 2 dozen?
Oh, no.
How many eggs did you get a day?
About 4. We had about 4 chickens. And my job was to pick the clover off the garden, and you had to hold it for the chicken. If you dropped it, they couldn't eat it because
they're stupid.
So I had to hold it between the wire, and I had to hold it there till they ate all the And then we had a three-legged chicken.
Yeah, I had a picture of that somewhere.
Yeah, and it was in the paper. They had a picture of that in the paper.
So what'd you have for breakfast when you were before school?
Usually eggs, yeah, or peanut butter and jelly. And then we usually took, I don't know, cereal I think we had.
Did you take your lunch to school or did you come home?
Oh, we took lunch to school. They didn't have a program yet. They had no lunch program.
Well, you're close enough. I didn't know whether you walked back and forth.
No, we took lunch. Clem and I took lunch.
What did you take for lunch?
Probably peanut butter and jelly. I don't know. What else? We couldn't have anything else.
Oh, bread and lard.
Cookies. Oh, that was my dad's favorite. Bread and lard with salt on top.
Salt or sugar?
Salt.
Well, you
Salt.
figured the lard would be
That's
salty
right,
enough.
and it's salt on top. And I got a taste for that too. I used to eat that too. It tastes good.
Well, you eat the
That was
smoked
bacon.
herring and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, herring and herrings. We got herrings in a crock, in a brine. And then we would get the inside, we call that lich, inside of the herring, and we'd make a pulp out of it, and then we'd make sort of a soup out of it. And they cut up onion.
You mean the fish guts?
Yeah, it wasn't the guts, it was like a bladder thing inside. Milk, it was like a milk thing. We called them lich. And then that's what we, and we had that on mashed potatoes. That was a good meal, mashed potatoes with that. But the herring was awful salty. It was really salty.
Yes, it is. That's what preserves the fish that way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we, at Easter time, we used to buy a keg. A keg, and there might have been like 12 fish in there. And I think we shared it with somebody, I don't know who, Martha or somebody. But that was quite a bit for one family. So we used to share it.
How big were the fish?
Oh, this little fish. A herring. How big is a herring?
What, that long?
That's right.
Smoked?
That's right. That's what was
About a foot long or
in the keg.
10
It
inches?
came in a wooden keg.
Huh.
So
I saw a picture of your front porch and it looked like you had an ice box on the front porch on Linden Avenue. Is that where they put the ice or?
No, the ice box was in Linden. No, we had a shed attached to the house.
Like a back porch?
Back porch. Yeah, there was a back porch. And there was a ice box there. And I don't know, I think like every other day or every third day, the iceman would come and put a chunk of ice in there. And then, of course, we had a pan underneath because the ice would be melting. So we had to catch the water.
So that was the same side of the house that you had the cistern and a pump?
Yeah. And
What did you use that water for? Was it drinking water? Did you have water to the house anyway or city water?
Oh, that was a sad situation because we had the cistern there and we had the rain trough, the water running from the rain trough running into the cistern. So the one time we had colored neighbors, Smiths, and they said it was a hole on their side of the property and that the dog was going to fall into that hole. And he says the hole is from the cistern. It's connected with the cistern. So what did we do?
You collapsed it.
So then
Filled it in.
I got the whole gang, Bob and John and everybody. They chopped up the cement where the cistern was, took the cistern out, and Bob got a whole truckload of pebbles or something from by the airport, and they filled it all in, filled the whole, just the cistern, they just filled that in.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course we had nice cement, and then they put the pebbles all over it. Should have left the cement.
You couldn't. You had
No.
to collapse the thing.
Yeah,
Otherwise, there'd be a space underneath, and it would be
It'd be hollow.
dangerous. It would be dangerous.
but they had the cover there.
Why was the cistern there in the first place, though? Did everybody have a cistern back then?
No, it came with the house. I don't know. I just was there when they bought the house. So, and then it was, but my mother used to use that for washing her hair, rainwater. Hey, that was good for clothes too.
Well, I've never seen anybody with a cistern like that, and I know that they do exist, but over on that side of town, it's the only one I'm aware of.
No, that was a good
Was
house.
that, when was the house built? In the late 1800s?
That's it. Because I remember there was a date on the house, on the building on Western Avenue. It was the Markowskis, and then they had the date on it. So I don't know whether, after they sold that, I think, no, I don't know whether she bought that with Markowski. Well, he was still living, so I think she must have bought that after Markowski died, and maybe this house on Linden was Mendlikowski's house, and then she moved in with him in that house. Like I say, I was a grade school, and I have no interest in
Well, what did Markowski do for a living?
Markowski.
Yeah.
Her husband was a shoe repairman.
I thought that Mendlikowski was the shoe repairman.
No, he was repairing shoes, and she was running the
Which he?
saloon.
Markowski was doing shoes?
Yeah.
What did
because
Mendlikowski do?
I have no idea.
Was he dead before you were born?
Oh yeah. That's why I never asked questions. All I had of him was a picture in the dining room, in the bedroom. There was a picture of him. That's all I know about him.
Basement, no.
Yeah, it's in the basement now. So it seemed like he was an older man. He must have been, because it was her second husband. So I don't think she had any kids after him. But there were the picture my mother had was a picture, a snapshot of her was two ladies, and I never knew who those two ladies were. I don't know whether they were his children or what.
Were they younger than her?
Huh?
Were they younger than her?
No, about the same age.
Did she have sisters?
Who?
Grandma Markowski.
Yeah, well, her name was Pilarski, and one of her sisters was Kazimierski, because it was a father or one of Kazimierski, her sister's sons became a priest, Father Kazimierski, and another was Przybeliński, Natalie. Natalie's mother was Pilarski from home. And there was another Kornowicz. So my grandma had three sisters. They all came from Poland.
Hmm.
So, but then I don't know when she married Andrzejewski. I have no idea.
That doesn't really matter.
Well, like I
He
say,
didn't seem very long lived anyway.
no. I don't remember his funeral.
What did she do at the tavern after Prohibition?
She sold it, I guess, to somebody.
Couldn't
She
sell
must have
booze
sold it.
anymore.
After Markowski died, so she couldn't manage by herself, I guess.
Well, she was running it by herself,
Yeah.
wasn't she?
Well, then she met up with Mendlikowski, then I guess she couldn't run the tavern while she was married to him, or I don't know what this is. That's what I mean. I can't answer your questions because I don't know what happened between them in that century.
What did she? Okay.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean.
Prohibition came late in the 20s, though. I was just wondering because you would have been like 9 years old or 8 years old when Prohibition happened.
Yeah.
So I thought you might remember
I was in grade school.
why she closed the. Well, she didn't have a choice. She had to close the bar.
Yeah.
But what'd she do for money after that? Rent?
Well,
Collecting rent from people or what?
I get it. Then I think when she married Mendlikowski, I think that was his house, so she moved in there. And then all the kids were older then, so my dad was the only one that stayed with her because Steve got married and lived next door. So then,
So Mendlikowski actually owned that house next door.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Grandma inherited that.
Yeah, she inherited all that property, I think, from Mendlikowski.
That's interesting. I always thought that she had, through the proceeds of the tavern, had purchased all this stuff herself. You're saying that she inherited it by marriage.
Well, see, I'm not even sure about that, but there must have been some money coming from the sale of that building.
Well,
That was a huge building.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but they actually moved the back bar out of the building and into the garage on Linden Avenue.
Yeah, the whole thing, they moved it.
So that tells me that when Prohibition hit and they had to close the bar, That's when that got moved into the garage, and
Yeah.
she had to be already on Linden Avenue in order to move it in there.
So they could live. Yeah, so there must have been Mindy Kuski's house, and she moved in there. And then now the property, because she wanted my dad to buy the house, and she wanted cash. So they paid $6,000.
What a sweetheart.
They had to buy the cash, so they took my dad. Well, took out a loan, and they gave her cash. So then they were paying it out, little by little. Then there was something happened, a crash.
Stock market?
Yeah, and they said if you take your money out now, you can get half of it now. So, but her friend Mrs. Luzhny had money in there too. Mrs. Luzhny says, "No, I don't need the money right now. I'm going to leave it in." So then Grandma got her money, but then within a year or so, Mrs. Luzhny got all her money back. So then Grandma was mad that she lost out because she wanted her money right then and there. And then, well, now that car, I don't know who that car belonged. Well, it belonged to Grandma, naturally.
A 21 Dodge?
Yeah, so I don't know who bought it. Maybe she bought it with the money she had or whatever. But then I don't know who drove it, whether Mindy Kuski ever drove the car, but evidently Grandma bought the car.
Do you know when Markowski died?
Who?
Markowski.
Her husband?
Yeah.
Nope, all I got is...
Do you remember him?
I don't remember him, I don't remember his funeral, I don't remember anything.
What happened while you was little or before you were born?
I have no idea.
I see.
Because I don't remember him at all. I don't remember seeing him. All I remember is her because she lived with us on Linden. And I was born on Linden. So that's all I knew was her.
Yeah.
I never saw him. I never saw either one of them. Because I was...
Really?
Both of them were gone. Well, that's why she was alone when she lived on Linden.
Yeah, that makes
They
sense.
were both gone.
So you never saw either one of them?
Nope, I never saw either one of them.
I'll be danged.
Nope, all I got is pictures of them.
So how often did Busha go to Chicago to visit her sister? Or how often did they come to South Bend to visit her?
Well, we went down the South Shore. My mother took me and my brother.
How did Busha meet Jaja?
My mother came here for her brother Joe's wedding.
So he married some South Bend girl?
Joe married Stella, a South Bend girl. So I don't know where Joe came here. He was working here. I don't know where. But he married, and then my mother stood up to the wedding. She was a bridesmaid for her brother. So that's how she met Dad.
So what was he doing at the wedding?
Dad?
Yeah.
Oh, he was invited, I guess. I don't know. They were invited at, I don't know how. Well, anyway, that's how they met. And then my dad went into the service, and then they were corresponding back and forth because he was writing them. My dad used to like to get letters, so he got, when it was a magazine, so if it was a lady's name or something, he'd write to her and tell her, you know, that he's in service, and if she's got time, would she write to him? So all these ladies were writing to him. And then, of course, he had to send money to his mother. So I don't know how he sent all of it or half of it. I don't know, but
Yeah, she was so hard up.
she was sending money to his mother. But no, I don't remember either of her husbands. And then all the kids were married. Martha got married, and Steve got married, and Gus got married. So I just knew them from their marriage, and then I knew their kids from their. So that's how I got to know them from my dad's brothers, and then of course Laura had Josie and what's his name? Her brother.
Bert.
So Bert disappeared. Josie never married. Josie claimed she had a boyfriend, and her mother wouldn't let him marry him, but I couldn't believe her because she was a baby. She fell. Her father was taking care of her, and I guess she fell off the table, and they didn't think anything of it. But then she was a crybaby. She cried all the time. They couldn't imagine. And she was growing up with she wasn't getting taller. They come to find out she had a broken back. So she never grew up. She just.
Well, doesn't scoliosis run in the family though?
I think my dad had it. I don't know. I never found out.
There's I think like Kathy Markowski has it, Connie has it, you have it. I was just wondering whether this was actually. I mean, she may have gotten hurt when she was a baby, but as crooked as she was, I mean, she was.
No, this is a bone. Bone's broken.
I know, but when that happens, usually you're paralyzed. It cuts your spinal cord to be twisted as much as she was.
This was the back. This wasn't the.
Yeah, that's where your spinal cord is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just wondering about the scoliosis. But do you know anybody else that was bent like that? Not as bad as Josie. But...
No. Nobody. Well, see, you don't know. People don't tell you. I mean, you wear your clothes. I don't know. Did you say Kathy has scoliosis?
She's got it now. She's getting bent over.
Oh.
You saw her on.
Yeah. Well, that was something else because first they thought she had a tumor in her head. Then we found out that she had another problem. But I don't know if anybody else. I didn't think any of my kids had scoliosis. They never said anything.
Not that I know of.
They were growing up. I mean, they had the swimsuits on, and I never noticed anything. But we never.
You usually notice scoliosis till much later.
Yeah. Now they catch it in school. They have tests in school, and they catch it. Make you wear something to straighten it. Keep it straight. If you let it go, you grow that way.
So where'd you go to high school?
South Bend Catholic High.
Where's that at? Where was
it? Laurel. It was
like behind.
First we went to school St. Hedwig. They had a hall, St. Hedwig School, and we had Resurrection Sisters there. And then, we had classrooms upstairs and downstairs. There's a big building at St. Hedwig's. And then the city offered us the school, I think it was an Albert School, for $1 a year. So then we moved from the St. Hedwig's School. We all moved into that. South Bend Catholic, then they named it. So we were paying like $1 a year for that building because it stood empty.
So you went there for 3 years?
Oh, I graduated from there, yeah.
Did you walk there?
I walked from Linden. Yeah.
I guess it isn't that far.
Linden.
About a mile and a half.
Linden.
To Walnut? Walnut to Western to...
Yeah, Walnut to cross Washington, cross Western.
Mm-hmm. It's back there.
It was this side of Western.
South of Western.
Yeah, it was 1 block south of this side of Western, so it was quite. Southern Catholic was on Western, but the other school, Southern Catholic, was this side of Western on Laurel. So then went there for 4 years and graduated from there. And then my mother's working with the shirt factory.
Let me just back up a minute. Where was the convent come in this?
The convent was on Western Avenue.
No, I'm talking about, didn't you go to a convent?
Oh, that, out of first grade.
First grade? I thought this was during high school.
Wait a minute. Not first grade. 8th grade. So, St. Stan's 8th grade. So.
Which convent?
Resurrection in Des Plaines, Illinois.
They shipped you off for a year? Boy, oh boy.
No, they didn't. I was there in May, June, and end of May we graduated. End of May.
So you went for the summer?
July. Yeah, 2 months. And then I told them that. I said, I don't know what I'm doing here. I said, I don't have a big vocation. And then come to find out, my family didn't have any money. So then they agreed to let me go. So I joined my 8th grade class first year in high school. I joined my class first year high.
So you didn't miss anything?
No, I was there only two months.
Hmm.
So I didn't miss anything. But then I know Sophie Knishy's daughter went there too, out of grade school. And they liked when she was there because every time they go visit, Sophie'd always stick some sausage to the nuns. But then Kathy wanted to get this one. When I was there for this, all we did was pick acorns from the ground for the pigs. That was our job.
Hmm.
And then, of course, they had some classes, that's Latin, something else, I don't know. And I started there because that was supposed to be school. But that's all we did. But Kathy wanted to go to college to get some education. And they didn't want her to leave because then if she left, they wouldn't get any more sausage. So then Sophie talked to them. She said she wants more education, and she said, "Well, they need her there." Well, they didn't really. So then she quit. She left. Kathy left, and she went to school and she got married, I guess. So that was all with that Resurrection Sisters. So after the sisters were still living there because they were teaching us at South Bend Catholic High. Resurrection sisters were still there. And there was Sister Severina. She was from the Holy Cross here. She was the principal of South Bend Catholic High. So we have Resurrection Sisters and we had sisters from St. Mary's. Severina was from here, but the others were. So then we still had the sisters at South Bend Catholic High. So then I don't know what happened after I graduated. I don't know how long that school was there. I have no idea because I lost track of it. After I graduated, I lost track. I didn't pay any attention. But then I think the sisters left, and the parents. But we had to pay tuition there. That's why Dad didn't go there. Dad went to Central because his parents could pay the tuition. So then I think, I don't know, it was hard times, I guess. So too many kids didn't go back to South Bend Catholic when they went to Central. So then I don't know what happened to the school after that.
So how long did you work at Wilson Shirt Factory? When did you quit there?
Oh, I think I worked there only a couple months. And then then my friend, Henrietta Pejikowski, well, Henrietta Lewinsky. She married Pejikowski. He was one of the students from there. And she got a job at Associates. She was telling me about it. She says, "Why don't you come there and find out?" And sure, I did. And sure enough, they hired me. So then I worked at, neither one of us could go to college. Our folks didn't have any money. So I was supposed to go to St. Mary's, and I was supposed to work and go to school. But I was a 98-pounder. I didn't think I could. My mother didn't think I could handle it. And then they didn't think so either, because I think we had an interview there. And they says, "Well, I don't think she could handle it, to do housekeeping and keep up with her studies." So then we forgot about it. So then Henrietta told me about it. So I went there, sure enough, I got a job in the tabulating department. And it was, you punch like a keyboard, but it punches holes, and you read it back. And the top line and the first line is A, and then the second line.
Anyway, that's boring.
Oh, that's a tabulating card.
I know. How long did you work there, though?
Till Larry came home from service, and then when he got married.
So when you got out of high school, you worked there until after the war?
Yeah. And after he got home. And then we got married because my picture was in it. We had a magazine, Associates magazine.
Yeah.
Picture was in there.
So you had to use a different name when you worked there, didn't you?
Yeah, Mr. Kesey. I had to change it from Markowski, because I was Markowski, Markowski to Markey. And then my friend was Warzniak, and she had to change it to Warz, W-A-R-Z. And he had all the Polish who changed their name. And we had to change our Social Security number and everything. So we had a problem with the government. And he says, well, there was a stipulation. They weren't hiring us unless we changed our name. And that was terrible. I should have, but we didn't know anybody. We just got got out of high school, we wanted the job. We did, we do anything just to get the job.
That's why discrimination is
Oh.
not just by the color of your skin, but
This is
national
by
origin
this is
too.
by the nationality.
Jaja worked at a singer for over 50 years or 50 years.
Yeah.
Did he go by Clem Marks the entire 50 years?
I think so. Well, there's pages from that book, from the singer's book. They had a magazine, and his picture was in there. He was in the garden. There's a picture of him in the garden. I got it upstairs. I got the singer book upstairs, all about Singer Factory. That's upstairs. And they had a picture of him in his garden. And he went by, I think he went by Marks.
Yeah, he went by Marks. I just didn't know whether he did it for all 50 years.
I don't know. Well, it's in there. And when he retired, his name was in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he went by Marks too. Yeah, for some reason, I don't know, people just didn't like Polish people.
Well, they didn't like a lot of different people back then. They didn't like Irish people.
Yeah.
But again, that's why the laws are set up the way they are.
And
to
they
protect
made
you
fun
from
of the Italians.
that. That's right.
They made fun of them, but this was a melting pot. Everybody came here trying to make a living, and then this were begrudging us because one group was making better than other, advancing better than other, but with us, with the St. Adalberts, because Genevieve and Walt, they brought people in from, the parish was doing that, St. Adalbert's. They were bringing in people from Poland, and the people living around the parish would pitch in toward the family, got them a house, make sure they got a job, and then they bring another Polish family, and they got them situated. If they find a house and get a job for them.
Mm.
So that's what they were doing. That's bringing in their Polish people that way and getting them established. Once they got a job, they start paying for the house themselves, and then they start helping another family. So that was it. But with us, I don't know. But I don't know. Like I say, I was still in grade school. I had no idea. I was just living in the present. I was going to school, doing my studies, and listening, but that was about all. But it was quiet around the house always. Because Grandma went to sleep, and Josie went up, and of course us kids went up, and that was it. I know that. No, I slept with my mother and my dad. My brother slept with my father. We only 2 bedrooms up there. So, and then finally, Clem left first because he went into service, and then I left after I got married. Oh, I was there.
Well, he finished high school though, right?
Who?
Clem.
Oh yeah.
How come when is his birthday? What month?
Clem's?
Yeah.
It's on the calendar. Is that on my calendar in the kitchen?
No, I was just wondering because Father went to the war.
February 1st.
Father went to the war quite a bit after Uncle Clem did.
Oh.
And I was just wondering why there was such a gap. Uncle Clem went a lot sooner than Father did.
Oh yeah.
But why? Is it because of his age? His father's birthday was in October.
Yeah.
Did he not do it?
Clem's was, I think, the first.
Did Uncle Clem turn 18 in, you said February?
Yeah, I think February 1st.
Because there was a big gap in. I was always wondering about that, why Father went so much later. But it would make sense if Uncle Clem turned 18 in February. Just sit still. You're on camera.
Well, it's over there.
It's all right.
All information's in that theater, right here in it. Matt's wife made a whole report on that.
Well, that's okay.
Well, the dates are in there.
That's okay.
Did you
That's
ask me?
fine.
I don't know.
We only got a couple more minutes here, so
Oh, okay. The
we just.
dates are in there. All the dates.
That's fine.
So that would confirm. So that well.
So when did you get rid of the chickens?
When they all died, I guess. Children. Yeah. We had eggs every morning and chickens. I mean, oh, my mother wanted the chicken for supper, so she told my dad go out there and they chopped the chicken's head off with a hammer with a
Hatchet.
small
Hatchet.
hatchet. And chicken got away with it from him. He was running around in the yard without a head. Oh my God! And chase the chicken.
But did you lose all the chicken when the barn burnt?
That barn never burned. The neighbors burned.
Is that what you were squirting with a hose?
Yeah, I got the hose. I saw the neighbors' barn was burning, and I got the hose and I was playing it.
Was that Uncle Steve?
Yeah.
His barn was burning?
Yeah.
Did he have chickens?
No, they didn't do that.
Did anybody in that neighborhood have any other animals?
That's what I know of.
Like a cow? Or...
Tackets lived next door. And then on the corner were colored people. And on the other side of our house was Smiths bought it from Sadie and Steve. I don't know what happened to them. I live right next door, but I don't know what happened with them. They had all those kids. I don't know what happened to them. No, nobody. No, Wituckies lived down the street, and he became a coach at Washington High. Bernie Witucky, he lived down there. And Cesar lived on the corner. He was a fireman. And there's another. And Platnicki's lived next door to Sadie, and he was a football player too. Ben Platnicki.
Well, let's finish this up. Just look at the camera and say "Anyana Sruju Moy" and then say what it means in English.
Oh, I've been covering my face. Oh, I see.
No. The prayer.
Anyana Sruju Moy.
Open your eyes.
Rano wieczór we w nocy, bądź mi zawsze.
Say that again.
Rano,
all over again.
Aniele stróżu mój, ty zawsze przy mnie stój. Rano wieczór we mnie w nocy, bądź mi zawsze ku pomocy.
And what's it mean in English?
Guardian dear.
Guardian dear. What's that mean? Just
Aniele stróżu mój. I don't know it in English. Be at my side. I don't know the English version.
well, Anyana Sruju Moy. Angel.
My guardian. The guardian angel. Be at my side. Protect me all danger. Bądź mi zawsze. The last sentence is bądź mi zawsze ku pomocy. Always be at my side and help me when I need you.
You good. Close enough. Okay, end of round one. What? I started the tape.
Oh.
So let's start at World War II ended.
Yeah.
Where were you working during World War II?
Associates investment.
Doing what?
Tabulating. The tabulating department. Tabulation is where you punch. You got holes in the card.
Key punch.
Key punch. Yeah, I was doing that.
So when did you stop working at Associates?
When Dad came home after war.
And when was that?
I think it was 2 years. 2 years later? I don't remember.
Well, when did you get married?
Mm-hmm.
June. You remember?
It was July the 6th.
Oh, it's July.
Because
47.
it was supposed to be on the 13th. Dave said 13th, but his mother said that's a bad day.
Unlucky day.
So we changed it to 6th.
Whatever.
They said it was unlucky. Huh?
Whatever. Was she superstitious like that?
Yeah. She said we'd have bad luck. So we changed it to the 6th. Didn't make any difference.
She was wrong.
Huh?
You had bad luck anyway.
Well, no. That worked out. No, then right after he came back, I didn't go back because I got married. And then started having kids one after the other. We lived with my mother when we got married. They got.
Where did father live when he came back? Did he just go home?
Yeah, he went home.
Okay.
They still had their house, and he was the only one left. The others are all married.
Huh.
Al and Lou.
Was Grandpa Jaworski retired by then?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and every Sunday, I don't know. Do you remember going?
Yeah.
Taking pills there for what was that? Aspirin. He was always taking aspirin every Sunday.
Well, I don't know. Put on Flash Gordon on the old black and white TV.
Mm-hmm.
We watched
Yeah,
that.
you went there to see that.
So when did father start with Studebaker? Did he go right back when he got home?
Yeah, because he worked at Studebaker in
Before the war?
yeah, before the war. He worked there. And then when they came back, they had their jobs, so they all went back to their jobs. And he was in inventory or whatever, taking care of stuff there. And then he had a real nice guy, his boss, helped him along the way. He saw potential in him and helped him along the way. After years, he became assistant purchaser, in charge of purchasing stuff for the plant. So he he got he just worked himself up. He liked what he was doing. He was good at it too. So
I know he was in the union before. When did he switch over to the management side?
when he went to salary.
Well, was that after the war?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I think he went into management when he came back. I don't think he went into inventory then. There was an opening, I think, and this guy pulled him in.
well, you worked in the mail room, and then
He worked in the mailroom at Associates.
he worked in materials for the longest
He
time.
worked in the mailroom at Associates Investment the same time I did.
Really?
Yeah, he worked there.
Was that after high school or when he was in
Yeah,
high school?
right out of high school. He worked there. As a matter of fact, I got a snapshot of him standing in front of the building.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah, so when from Associates, he went to Studebaker, and then from Studebaker, they came back with him. But he didn't want factory. He wanted to do some office. That's why he went to Associates. And but that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for him to shuffle paper. He wanted something more. So then
I suppose.
there was an opportunity for him when he came back. He would like to see what they had at. And then of course the pay was bad. I don't know. Associates, they didn't pay anything. He on the horse was a cheapskate. He didn't pay very much.
So how long did he work? You got married. Did you move into the upstairs right away?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how many years did you live there?
Well, Jim was born there. Jim was born.
And Judy? Judy
Yeah,
came
Judy
first.
was born. Judy was born and Jim was born there. And then we were on the second floor, and we were afraid your kids were going to be falling down the steps all the time. Because we had a back entrance on Linden.
Right.
So then we saw this house on Diamond, and it was reasonable. They only paid $10,000 for it.
Well, that was a lot of money back in.
Oh,
When did you move in? You remember the year?
well, Jim must have been about 2 years old when we moved. So then, and then we
51 or 52?
see, you're asking years. I have no idea.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
fish around. Was Bob born yet when you moved?
No.
Okay, well, he was born in 53, so it had to
Okay.
be before that.
Bob, and you were born on Diamond.
In the hospital anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we were born on Diamond, but yeah, we had. I was saving money from my work, and Dad was saving money. Well, he was sending his mother some money, but he was still sitting ready. So we had money to pay down payment on the house. And we took out a loan, and we were paying like $40 a month toward the loan.
Uh-huh.
But we were making double payments because the interest was more than the payment, or was it? We were getting ahead.
That's the way it usually works.
Yeah, so that's what we did. We were making double payments and paid it off.
Well, let's see. If it was about 52 or 51 or 52 when you moved, and 61, and then you moved in 68, you barely spent almost 15 years? 15, 16, 17 years in that house, that's all.
Diamond?
Yeah. Because you moved in 68.
There's something, Bob put something on in the basement.
Yeah, I know.
over
That
here.
says 68, and that's when
When we moved in?
that's when the basement got refinished, because it was an empty basement when you moved in.
Oh, yeah.
You had the guy come in and put up framing and paneling and
Yeah,
stuff.
apparently, yeah, we made it done. Well, seemed like it was a big house, but it still seems small. Well, your kids were gone when we came here.
Well, I was still there.
Huh?
I remember the day you moved, you didn't tell Bob, and you went home to the wrong house. And,
You did?
yeah, the house was empty. He went home from Central. All the furniture's gone. Nobody's there.
He didn't know where we went?
Well, you neglected to tell him that you were moving that day. So he went home from school to the wrong house. He probably just thought you left without him. Have a nice life.
Yeah, that's. I think that was his feeling. He felt left out. He was a middle boy. He felt left out on everything. He was either old enough or he was too young, or not old enough, or whatever. But even Judy had a date. She forgot to tell her date that she moved, and he went to that house too. She wasn't there. He just didn't tell anybody.
That's good thinking.
So I don't know what Bob. He probably went across the street to Powell's to find out what happened.
I think he had a car at the time, so
Yeah.
probably he knew you were where the other house was. This house.
Yeah, we almost didn't buy it because.
This house?
Yeah. Because the doctor, it was for sale, and when we talked to the realtor, she said that she had a prospect, so this doctor wanted, Dr. Goodell, that he bought the house. And he was supposed to work at the children's dispensary on the corner,
Yeah.
and he found out that it wasn't for him. He didn't want to deal just with children, disabled children. He wanted more. But then his daughter and his daughter went to St. Mary's and his son to Notre Dame. So he let them stay here until they finished. And then he put it up for sale again. And Dad and I drove by and, oh my God, the house is for sale again. Because we looked at houses at Norwood, and wooden houses were like 200,000. Oh my God, that was only
In the 1960s?
27. This house is 27.
27 or 28, I remember.
Yeah. So then we called a realtor. We said, we want that house.
Hmm.
So then, of course, it went up in price. Because at that time, he was asking $17,000. And then when we were ready to buy, then it went up to 27. So he put something in the basement, and we were doing the kitchen. He says, okay, we don't care how much more it is, we want that house. But I didn't like it because it was so close to the neighbors. I wanted more open space.
Well, it's a pretty substantial house, and you really can't hear anything unless the windows
Oh
are open.
yeah, when neighbor used to sleep in her bedroom across from ours, we could hear her sneeze. And she was recording, she was a professor at Notre Dame at St. Mary's, and she was recording speeches. We could hear her recording. Oh yeah, that's what I didn't like about this location. I didn't realize it was prime location.
Well, maybe at the time it was. It's turning into it again with a lot of people. Notre Dame people buying the houses in this neighborhood, and Notre Dame tearing down houses and building houses.
Yeah.
it's changing the whole aspect of the neighborhood of what it was 10 or 15 years ago, which was a little seedy, but it's changing around now.
Yeah, people are still selling. There's a house down the block that's for sale, and one across from me, they're selling too.
Well, that's the thing with academics, they move around to different places.
Well, the neighbors across the alley, his mother has a house down the street, and his mother is in assisted living now, so that house is empty. So rather, and it's bigger than this one. So they're selling this one and moving into hers.
Oh,
But I saw her at Walmart one time, and I said, "Are you leaving the neighborhood?" She said, "Oh yeah, we're just moving into his mother's house." And I said, "I was in that house. I don't know how you could stand or working in that kitchen." And she said, "Believe it or not," she said, "we paid $40,000 to have that kitchen renovated." She said,
boy.
"It's so beautiful now. I hate to leave it."
Hmm.
But
That's the thing with the older houses in this neighborhood. Everything was
that was
built in
like
the mid-1920s, and
it was like a Pullman kitchen, almost like mine, only it was smaller.
I was in there too.
Huh?
I was in that house a couple times too.
You were? Yes, the nuns lived in it. The nuns were living in it for a while.
Nuns?
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
2 nuns were living in it. Matter of fact, they were living there when Dad passed away, because they came to the funeral home.
I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why they let nuns live by themselves, but they did. They were nice. They were nice. I guess they were nurses or something, and I don't know, some kind of business. But yeah, they came to Dad's funeral, and they were real nice. And then kept changing hands. People move in, move out, move in, move out. So now, but I have to fly on Piaget. Noreen Meduski told me that her nephew bought a house on Piaget. He's married and has children. So I have to look it up in the phone book and see what house he lives in. Kind of close, because that's a big, elite neighborhood. Expensive houses too.
When you moved in here, Judy moved over here, and I did, of course, and Bob did, but not sure when Judy moved out. She was about 23, so.
Well, you were still in school, because Mr. Hadley lived next door. Hadley lived on Lawndale. He moved next door. So I would take you and his son to school in the morning, and then Hadley would bring you home.
Well, sometimes Bob was taking me too.
Really?
He would take me to Holy Cross before he would go to Central, and then he graduated.
Okay.
So I don't think Jim ever moved into this house, did he?
No, it was right after graduation.
Is that when he
He went to
moved?
Chicago. Yeah, he moved to Chicago right away. And that was a good deal for him, because that was just. And Bob went to Michigan, some kind of a school in Michigan.
I thought that was after the Army.
No, before Bob, right out of high school. Somebody talked him into it. It was a school, and I don't know what they were teaching anyway. Well, he was working, got a job, and he worked during the day. What was that? He went to school during the day, and then he worked in the evening, and he didn't have time to study. So then he got sick, and we had to bring him home. Some kind of nervous sickness, what was that? There's a name for it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
News to me. First I hear about this.
He had to quit school. And then we ran into the guy that came here to introduce him to enroll him to this school. And he said, well, he would have told me, I could have done something about it. He wouldn't have had to quit. Maybe he would have come and got like a reprieve for 3 months, and then he could go back. So then he says, no. So then, what happened? I don't know what Bob did after that. I can't remember. He started working in.
He was working at that place on Main Street. That's where he met Debbie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And he was welding, and then he joined the Army after that.
That's right. And did they get married before he? Yeah, they got married before he left.
Well, I don't know. He didn't get married in uniform.
He got married before they left. Before he left for service. And then, yeah.
I think. Anyway.
And I don't know how he wound up. Well, that didn't work out. They bought a little bitty house out there. Some cousin sold him a house, and that didn't work out. It was too small. And they were divorced, and then he met Tammy.
We kind of skidded over the top of that.
Yeah.
No, he was out in Germany, and she was still living there on Byron Street, I think. And then Abbott. That was it.
Debbie. Yeah, they were living over off of Portage.
And then when he came back from Germany, he was stationed down at Fort Campbell, and they lived down there.
I used to babysit for Chris. I used to bring him here, and I used to pick him up. Because she was working. She worked just around the corner from where she lived. So I'd pick him up, and I would babysit. I would bring him here, and a couple of times he'd spend the night here.
Excuse me.
And then Debbie met that guy from Chicago, and that was it.
Well, I think Bob had a lot to do with that, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He made a few mistakes.
She wanted, oh my God. Yeah, I think what really broke him up was leaving that lakefront with his contact.
Well, that was Tammy, not Deb.
Yeah, but that's what was the last straw.
Anyway.
So then everybody left here.
Oh, I didn't leave here till I went through high school when I lived here.
You were living with Judy for a while, and I was paying your rent.
Well, I was going to school.
Yeah, so
I was
I
in
don't know why
college.
you didn't want to stay here.
Because when Father died, I gave up the apartment, and Bob came here, and I went to Judy's because Judy was getting divorced at the time too.
Yeah. That's right, you were living with.
He came here, and I went to Judy's.
Who came here?
Bob.
Okay.
So we both had an apartment. That's why he came.
That's right, you were living with. Who?
Well, Bob. First it was Marty.
That's right.
Then Marty moved out, and Bob moved in.
I remember you were living there because when Dad passed away, I called you, and you were in that apartment, yeah.
Yes, I was.
And for some reason, Angie was there.
I don't know. She was in town visiting her folks, and she came over for supper.
Oh.
Because it's not that far from where her folks are.
Yeah. So that's when I called you, and then what did you do? You called everybody? You called them?
Well, Bob was there.
Oh, yeah, so.
So we went over to see Judy and told her. And I swung by here. I don't know whether it was on the way to see Judy or not, but I swung by here and grabbed your address book. And started calling people. Called Uncle Clem, and he told everybody in Chicago. And I think I called John Reed. I didn't know how to get a hold of AM General, and he did that. And he also got a hold of Chet, because Chet was in Arizona, I think.
Yeah, they were vacationing or whatever.
Yeah, I think I called Uncle Barney, too. I think.
Probably. I don't know, I don't remember anything. Except, I don't even remember the plane ride coming home. Because came home with Lou on the plane and my dad. And they didn't believe in credit cards, so flights and everything, the tickets and everything went on my credit card.
Would sound like Uncle Ed.
Yeah. So I said, no, put it on my credit card and we'll take care of it. You can pay me whenever or whatever. So that's when we got home. But I don't remember coming to Chicago.
I thought you bought the tickets before Father died. You were going to fly him home. That's what you told me. And you already had the tickets.
We were traveling in Dad's Wagoneer.
No, I'm aware of that. but he was sick, and you said you got tickets to fly him home, and Uncle Ed and Aunt Lou were just going to drive the Wagoneer home, but before you could use the tickets, he died.
No, we bought the tickets after he died. No, we planned on driving back home. No, we didn't think.
I
didn't
know.
expect him to die.
I'm aware of that.
He died.
I'm aware of that. But you told me at the time that you had purchased the tickets to fly him home because he was so sick.
He wasn't sick. There was nothing wrong. It was always a complete surprise. I was completely surprised.
You said
when
he
it
had the
happened.
flu. You said he had the flu.
He wasn't feeling. I mean, he didn't want to go wherever we wanted to go, except he wasn't feeling good. But I didn't know. Outside of that, because when I left her to see Ed and Lou at the where we stayed.
South Padre Island.
Yeah, but the hotel we stayed.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, well, anyway. So when I went down to tell them, I couldn't wake him up. And there was a courtesy boy on the elevator. And I must have looked terrible because he looked at me and he says, "Ma'am, is something the matter?" I says, "Yeah, I can't wake my husband up." So then I went down to the pool to tell Ed and Lou. And then by the time we got back, we were on the 4th floor. By the time we got back, there was somebody from the motel up in the room already. And they had called an ambulance. And they had a call from Brownsville, because this was a causeway.
Yeah, that's a long
This was an
way.
island. We were on a causeway. So I think it was like a 20 miles something. So then they tried to revive her because we had adjoining rooms. So Lou and I were in one room, and then Ed was with them. But so then we got in the Jeep, and Ed and Lou and Ed drove behind the ambulance. We drove all the way down to Brownsville to find out, and then they said that they couldn't bring him back. And then the nurse said, she says, "You better take his ring because it'll disappear." So took his ring, and then arrangements. Then, well, who? We'll call Jaworski. I don't know who took care of that.
I did everything.
From here.
Yes.
I
The
don't-
breakfast, Jaworski's, the MRs.
I don't remember that. I don't remember the viewing.
You do or don't?
I don't.
Really?
The only thing I remember is Judy was still married, and they came.
Barely.
Yeah, they came, home, and they asked me if I had something to eat. I said, "No, I didn't." And of course, nobody thought of bringing anything there. So they said, "Well, you better. We're going to take you out to the restaurant, get something to eat." Well, while I was gone, then some people came, and they wanted to. I wasn't there to see them, so. But I remember Judy and her husband took me out to eat. When I came back, then he said, "So and so was here, and they were looking for you." Well, I had to go out and eat.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, so much has happened since.
Oh,
I know that was a complete shock. I was, and Ed, Ed was just, the first thing he did, went to a doctor and to get examined. That's what, then he went to, because I said, "Well, come back home, I'm playing with this." He says, "No," he says, "Look, the back end of the Jeep is full of gifts and luggage." He says, "No, I can drive home." So we went to Jim's house, Jim Powell's. And then Jim said, "Yeah, let's go to the doctor and get you checked out." I said, "No, it's just nerves because of what happened." So then Jim and his wife took a week off from work and drove back because they didn't want Ed to drive alone. So they drove back with him. A whole week, so. I didn't realize it, but they were out of plane fare because they had to fly back.
Yeah.
They had to pay for flight. I didn't realize they were out of plane fare for 2 people. Yeah, they had. I didn't think of that.
Well, they did it for their dad.
Oh yeah.
That's why they did it. They weren't doing it for you necessarily. They were doing it for
they
that.
were worried about their father.
That's
His
correct.
father, yeah. So
Well, that was 81, wasn't it?
yeah, it must have been. No, I can't remember. Back there, Jim keeps telling me, well, we did this, we did that, we did this, and I said, "We did."
Well, maybe you got reverse Alzheimer's. You can't remember anything in the past, but you remember everything that happens in the
Yeah.
present. You remember where your car keys are and how to get from one place to another, but you can't remember what the hell you did 10 years
No.
ago.
No, I can't remember. I said there were 4 kids and 6 people. Had to fix meals for 6 people. Really. And I keep telling them, while we were eating liver all the time, we hated liver. I can't imagine why I didn't like liver either. I can't imagine why I was feeding my family liver.
Oh no, I liked it.
With bacon, yeah, with bacon and
Anything to ketchup.
yeah, a whole bunch of ketchup. Yeah. Judy said she was throwing hers under the table. But I you guys never complained. You should have said, Mom, let's have some.
You
Every
kidding
now and
me?
then,
You don't complain.
Huh?
Not with Father there. You don't
I know,
complain.
no. Every now and then Judy made a pizza. And she had a,
That was grand entertainment.
yeah.
Watching her trying to light the oven. Boom.
Yeah.
That's another thing. That was just a cookie sheet, a Chef Boyardee box,
Yeah.
and a cookie sheet, and spread it out. And half of it had a couple rings of smoked sausage on it, and that supposedly fed a family of 6.
Yeah.
It's like the loaves and the fishes, except
That's
for
I
pizza.
can't imagine what I fed you people.
Pork chops a lot.
Yeah. You could have lived on Polish sausage, but
We took it for granted at the time. Crock pickles and Donald's Polish sausage. It's hard to come by now.
well, nobody complains. I kept doing it. Done in here too. And my mother
They used
moved-
to deep fry chicken, and
Oh.
I remember that. They had a big deep fryer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a deep fryer. And then we moved the dining. We moved the refrigerator from the kitchen into the hallway, and then we had room for our table. That was a small kitchen. Oh my God.
Yes, it was. It was a small house, actually. It wasn't that big.
And then Lupa or somebody made cabinets.
Just remodeled it, that's
They
all.
remodeled it because I could. But we had to get a table into that kitchen, and we had to move the refrigerator.
Well, you had the kitchen and 2 other rooms on the first floor, and the one that had the window seat was supposed to be a dining room.
Yeah.
And then the one by the front door was supposed to be the living room where the upstairs stairs came down. But we never used that room for anything.
We had the dining room table in the
By the windows.
the stairs going upstairs.
Well, you had it underneath the windows that were by the
Yeah.
driveway.
Well, we needed a family room more than we, and then we didn't eat in the dining room.
No, it didn't.
But that was a small house. But, well, no
Yeah.
wonder for $10, 10,000. What do you expect?
Well, that's what they were going for at the time. That's about average.
Stucco. Oh my God.
I don't know whose idea that was.
Well, it was a stucco house when we bought
It's
it.
still a stucco house.
And then you couldn't paint it stucco because you'd wear out 100 brushes. So we had to have it blown.
Spray painted, you mean?
Yeah, they had to blow the paint, blow the cement, whatever the cement was in the paint.
Hmm.
They had to blow it. They said, we can't paint it. We wear out too many brushes.
Well, it's like an indestructible house. It's still there on Diamond Avenue, and there's so many houses that aren't there anymore
Yeah.
on Diamond Avenue. I don't know who's living in it now, but they haven't let the place run down.
No, I have the name of the people. I don't know they're still there.
Well, it's been
And I've got
40 years.
Yeah, and I've got because when you pay out your house, they give you the book and all the information. Well, I've
Yeah.
got theirs too.
Abstract.
So abstract. Yeah, I was going to give it to them in case somebody was interested.
Every time you sell a house, you get another abstract. It
Yeah.
has to be redone.
Oh.
So you don't have to pass it from one person to another.
I see. I see.
The title
Yeah.
abstract.
Well, then we don't need I'll need to worry about it.
Oh. Yeah, that's how we start eating bologna and eggs all the time.
Oh,
I remember that Sunday mornings.
yeah. But I always didn't have to eat eggs alone.
You didn't like them.
Huh?
You didn't like eggs.
Well, we had chickens on Linden Avenue and had eggs all the time. We just went to the chicken coop and got a couple of eggs and we had eggs.
Well,
And then my dad fried them in bacon grease. Chicken, scrambled eggs and bacon grease. Well, it tasted like bacon because you used bacon grease.
just a few drippings. You don't have to boil them in
Yeah.
there.
Oh, it tasted good.
Well, you got good nutritious food then during
Oh,
the
yeah.
Depression, you know. At least you
Yeah.
had stuff. Some people didn't have that.
No, we lived across the street from Konechny. Right over there, we got hamburger for 25 cents a pound.
Well, it
Bread
cost
was
money.
10 cents. Huh?
During the Depression, you said that Jaja was only working 1 day a week at Singer.
Yeah.
Well, all the money's got to come from somewhere. So you just stretch the food dollars by
I
having
know.
grapes and cherries
Yeah, I
and
had some. I
mulberries.
saved. I think I still have some of his receipts from Singers. For like $14, like $16. I don't know where he was making.
I had a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
He worked there a long time. He worked there for 50 years.
Because they gave him a watch.
Big deal. A
They
watch.
gave him a gold watch. He and his Aunt Martha's husband, Uncle Walter, he worked there too.
For 50 years?
Yeah.
Huh.
They would meet.
Is that Father Roman's parents?
They would meet on Linden Avenue. They would both walk from Linden Avenue to Olive Street every morning.
And then Olive Street.
Yeah,
Down to
all
Singer.
the way out. Yeah, that
That's a-
was about 2-3 miles.
No, not that far.
I don't know. But they took the back way. College. They took college and
Did they cut across the
yeah,
tracks?
they took the back way. But I met a gentleman that owned Dulcet's Bakery. It was on the corner,
Which corner?
Linden and far Linden and Farmsville the same way. Across from me and music school.
Wurzel?
Linden School.
Wurzel?
Could be. Well, anyway, this man said that Dad and Walter would stop into the bakery every morning, get themselves a donut, and then eat. So I don't know if they had breakfast at home or not, but they would eat the donut on the way to work. I said, I didn't know that. I said, oh yeah, these two guys that come in and have eat a donut on the way to work. So I don't know if they had lunch or not.
They probably took their lunch. They'd eat something.
Probably, yeah, Mom would let them go without eating.
Bread, lard, a little bit of sugar.
But they had, I think 2 bedrooms. I think they only had 2 bedrooms downstairs. And they had 5 kids. There was 7 in that house. But I heard that Walter had to sleep up in the attic. There was enough room. That was, and of course, Gus lived next door. And he built his own house, I guess. But that didn't work out. He married the wrong lady, and they just didn't. He couldn't make her go because he spent all the money he made, and that was it. He didn't have any kids. Thank goodness they didn't have any kids. So,
Well, anyway,
we're back to the
we went from the 1980s back to the teens and the 20s. We sort of jumped a little.
well, and
So anyway, we sort of skipped the 70s and the 80s too.
well, then you went to night school for college, and Judy went to night school. Judy went to Porter College.
Well, that was
She
right
went-
after high school.
Huh?
That was right after high school.
What?
That she went to Porter College.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Business.
Well, St. Joe High sent them there. 5 girls went to Portage. Porter.
Sent them there.
Porter, yeah, for free classes. And they were supposed to do typing, a shorthand, and something else. Secretarial courses. 5 girls from St. Joe High.
Why?
And they stayed with families. And they didn't, they were glorified babysitters. And they didn't pay any rent, the families didn't pay them. They had that arrangement. This was
Like
all
room and
arranged.
board and watch the kids.
For the 5 girls.
Hmm.
And there was a 2-year course. And
So how did Judy get this for free?
St. Joe High. They had an agreement.
Well,
with-
why only 5 girls? And why
It
Judy?
was an experiment. Flowers and I can't remember who the other, but there were 5 girls involved. And they were trying to, and then I guess St. Joe High paid because we didn't pay anything. Because we didn't have to
What
pay
a
anything.
deal.
Huh?
What a deal.
Oh yeah. So, and then the father, the girl, they said, well, that's, you know. And then when she came back, she went to Notre Dame, and that was it.
Huh.
She spent 40 years there. She you know, helped herself from one department to another, and wound up being secretary to the doctor, and then got herself a real nice job. She liked what she was doing.
I suppose.
She was in charge of entertainment. Every now and then, they had the students' 2-year course, medical course at Notre Dame, and her doctor was in charge of that. So every now and then they had meetings, so she was in charge of lunch. If you didn't offer a lunch, they didn't come to the meeting. But if they said they're going to have lunch at the meeting, then everybody came. So she was in charge of that. She liked it. So, but then you went to college. You went to
IUSB. I started in '82.
Well, I remember you were tired of school. You didn't want to go to school anymore. And then all your friends are making 20,000, 25,000, and so, oh, I better go to school and get more education.
You're making this up as you go along, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Not exactly the way it went, but I didn't care what anybody, I still don't. I went to school because my wrist was getting so bad I was losing, I couldn't do the heavy moving steel work anymore.
Where were you working?
At Curtis Products.
Oh, that's right.
And I could see the handwriting on the wall.
I see.
So it took me 7 years, but I got my degree.
Well, I wondered why you left that place. I thought you had a good job. I didn't know about your wrist.
Well, it's the same problem I'm having now with my
Yeah.
wrist. But I heard it when I was in high school.
Hmm. And it wasn't corrected right? If it had been done right the first time? What?
No, it's because of the way the physiology is. That little bone doesn't get a good blood supply,
Oh,
and it was cracked, and it couldn't heal. It wasn't able to heal. So, but even so, I worked another 30 years.
Yeah.
Doing various things.
Yeah. How did you get into? Were you let go? Were you working at the eating place?
Noble Roman.
Noble Roman.
Well, I worked there 13 years, but I quit them.
When did you start there? Why did you start when you?
I started after my first semester in school. I wasn't working, and then Marty was working there, and he offered me a job waiting tables.
That's right.
So I did that while I was in school, and then I wound up being an assistant manager and a manager, and then I got a district manager who was just a complete piece of work. And his bonus was based on sales, and mine was based on profit. So, of course, he generated lots of sales with no profit, and I wasn't making any money. So I quit there. And I went to work at Subway for a number of years, and then Stan's Food Service and AM General.
Yeah,
But anyway, when did you guys start taking vacations?
Every year, because if Dad stayed home.
You didn't take vacations for quite a long time.
Well, when Dad became the purchasing agent, and he wanted to take a break, and then we were renting the Wagoneer.
It was a lease.
A lease. We get a new one every year. Not a new one, but a used one.
It was a new one.
So then, people would buy it, and then they turned it in for a new one. And then, so when we had that, then we started. And Dad wanted to get out of town because if he was in town, 11 o'clock at night, they'd call, hey, we're out of parts. And we got the line doesn't have anything to do tomorrow morning. So Dad get on the phone, call the president of the company or somebody, and he'd say, the parts aren't here. And by morning, he says, I'm sending a plane out after them.
And you're paying for it.
And you're paying for it.
Yeah.
He says,
you know what? That's still going on. The very same thing.
He says, by God, the parts are there in the morning.
Well, they have to be because you lose like $5,000.
Oh, yeah. So I'm getting out of town. He told the people, he says, I'm going on vacation and don't call me because I'm going out of town. So that's when we started. He says, we have to go out of town because I'm not getting any rest at home.
Huh.
And then we went, oh my God, we went to Hawaii 3 times.
You went 3 times?
Oh yeah, once we went with Curtis or somebody, with Chet and Clara. Then we went to Uuuuh. And another time with somebody, no, twice to Hawaii, 3 times to Poland. I just went to Poland.
Oh.
But Uuuuh, and then we were sort of sorry because Dad wanted to play golf behind the motel where we were, and then it seemed like we wanted to do everything together. Well, we should have, said, well, what do you want to do today? You go your way, we'll go our way. We didn't do that.
Whatever.
But then when we went to the night shows, and they had the torches, and Uncle Ed had trouble breathing. I didn't know that. We didn't have to go to that. They could have skipped that. Done something else. But we never, they sort of waited for us to make the decisions, but then sometimes we didn't. Had we known, we would have made different decisions.
Well, that's the advantage of having hindsight.
Yeah. Well, when we went with Chet and Clara, we should have known, but they didn't know what to do, and then they offered us different things. This is a tour. They offered us different things. So let's do this, let's do this. But then this night stuff with the torches and the smoke, that wasn't good for him. But I had no idea he had a problem.
Well, people like luau's when they're in Hawaii.
Yeah, we took pictures and we got a film.
You have a number of films.
Do you remember? And we had when we came back, we had a luau here at my house.
I remember that.
Put a sheet on the fence and got the film out. And when it turned out, the people from Chopin Fine Arts came, because I was a member. They came and sat here, and when it got dark, we played that was our screen, the sheet.
Your home movies?
Our movies. And we had the film of the Hawaii. So everybody just watched it. That was a interesting night.
Well, for you anyway.
Well, no, for them, we've been in Hawaii, but that was before that. They were seeing it firsthand.
Well, I didn't know what they say about home movies.
No, it was the scenery. It was mostly scenery.
I hope you had enough liquor. I remember everybody was dressed up in Hawaiian shirts and we had a skirt.
You remember that night?
I left. I got out of here. I don't know where I was, but I know I wasn't here.
Oh, they enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, I hope they did.
Absolutely. They never went. Well, I've never been in Hawaii and never planned on going. And actually, to see somebody.
You say so.
Yeah, they talked about it a long time.
Well, anyway, you went out to Yellowstone too. Remember?
Yeah, I went to Yellowstone, and we went to
Arkansas.
to see the 4 mountain figures.
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, we took you.
Yeah, I remember
You didn't want to go.
No, I didn't.
And I said, well, this is history. Why don't you see some history?
Yeah, you're putting in 600 miles a day in the car. It ain't no fun. Passing bologna sandwiches over the front seat.
We didn't want to leave you home. We didn't know what to do with you.
Well.
And then we went to one place you got sick?
No, it was Sioux Falls. Between Sioux Falls over the Black Hills for 500 miles to Rapids. No, it was Rapid City.
What was that?
Rapid City to West Yellowstone, to Cody, Wyoming.
Cody.
Rapid City. That's Rapid City's where I got sick.
Yeah.
I just up and down and puked all the way there. Gee, thanks for a memorable vacation.
Yeah, well, anyway, that was it.
And you went to Arkansas too. I remember that.
Arkansas?
Went down there and you had to sit through a timeshare thing, and they gave you like 3 days there, or 3 nights and 4 days or something.
We went to see Krupa.
I wasn't on that one.
Yeah, we went to see Krupa, I remember, and they had a grapefruit tree in the backyard, and then I went to see them, and And Mary and Cooper lived there, and then Bernice and her family, they all lived in Arizona.
Well, I tell you, that's an awful long way to drive from South Bend to South Padre Island.
Yeah.
Because it's almost a day just driving through the Texas part.
Well, we stopped at motels. We always asked for adjoining rooms. Adjoining rooms and first floor. That's what we wanted. We were afraid of fires. Oh, we stopped at several motels, and then coming back, flew.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that always wanted to go somewhere. He never wanted to stay home. He didn't mind driving. He wouldn't let me drive.
I don't blame him.
A couple times when he was really tired, he'd let me drive, but then he had one eye open.
I'll bet he did.
He says, "You're going too fast. You're going too fast." I thought you were sleeping.
So, after Father passed away, why did you start taking students in? For what reason?
Well, my mother died. My mother passed away.
Well,
I didn't start till after she passed.
That was a few years later, right?
Yeah. And somebody asked me if I'd take in a student, my friend from Notre Dame off-campus housing. She was a friend of mine, and she was in charge of students. She said, we were talking one time, and she said, well, I told her my mother passed away. She said, well, would you be interested in taking a student? I said, well, I'd try. And that's when I took IU. And I charged him $100 a month.
He was here for like 3-4 years, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Here a long time.
And then a friend of his wanted to know if he would join him in his apartment, help him pay. So that's when he moved. Well, then I remember I said, well, everybody said, well, you're not charging him up. You're not charging him up. So then I said, well, $150 a month. Well, then that's when he changed his mind. He said, well, he's got somebody else to live with. So then I lost him because he left. But he would have stayed if I kept having him.
Well, and many, many more students lived here
Then
after
I had
that.
couples coming in, I had people from Poland, professors from Poland.
People
Word got
from
around
Thailand and
that there's a Polish lady in South Bend that rents rooms. So then I got a lot of people from Poland, professors and couples, married couples. And that one couple, his wife came for 2 weeks and she wrote to him and she says, guess what, I'm pregnant. So I don't know, was it an American baby or was it going to be a Polish baby? That was funny. So he just kept on doing it. One couple left, one student left, here comes another one, here comes another one. And Chinese and the girl from Congo.
well, she was from Germany, but she was probably originally from the
Yeah,
Congo.
she was originally, because they asked my girl from Germany, and I said, sure. So this real dark girl standing in front of my door. I said, yes. He said, well, I'm supposed to be having room with you. And I said, oh. I said, oh, come on in.
You were expecting a blue-eyed blonde German girl, weren't you?
Yeah, I didn't know. They didn't say who she was. So yeah, but we had a problem with language because she had. But I spoke slower. She spoke slower, and then
That's how you do it.
mostly sign language. So by the time, we were great friends. By the time she left, we were good friends. Yeah, all kinds of. And this one student from, where was he from? Turkey or someplace. And I was sleeping in that room upstairs. And he would come, after I went to bed, he would come down here and turn the TV on. Real quiet. And one time he put an egg on the stove and it boiled out, the water boiled out. So the egg popped. And I smelled metal. I smelled metal burning in my mouth. Smoke, but metal burning in my bedroom. I came down. He already had it. It was filled with metal smoke. What is it, Stephen? It's heavy. Yeah, the door's open already. Everything was open. But I knew he kept on doing that because the dummy, when he turned it down, he should have turned the volume up when he was through. When I came down the next day, the volume was real down. So I knew he was watching TV at night. But that was it. Oh my God. So then he went back. He wanted to come back again. I just know I got somebody already. I didn't, but I.
Well, you got to weed them out.
Oh yeah.
So what do you think your legacy is going to be? Of course, you're probably going to live
Well,
another 10 years. But
I was hoping I could pass down the Polish language to one of my children, because it'll be gone when I'm gone. So I have a recording here that I was hoping to, because Sam seems to be interested.
yes, but your recording is not the way to do it.
Oh, this is.
No, it's not. I don't know where you got those things, but that's
From
not.
Chicago. I got it from Chicago.
When?
And that's a teaching course.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got much better ways of doing that these days. So
That's a repetition.
I know that's not
Actual
usually how they
language.
do it anymore. They do
And
it.
I've got a Spanish course here.
You want to know why none of your children speak Polish? Is because you insist on doing it your way, and nobody knows how to speak Polish now.
I wanted to go to, they were teaching, well, you were in grade school. Howard Post had courses in Polish, and I wanted you guys to go. We don't want a, what do they call dialect?
Accent?
We don't want an accent. I said, you're not going to get an accent. I don't have an accent. So it's 4 against 1. Well, 3 against 1, because you didn't know any better. So I couldn't get you to go. But you could have learned from, when you were young, you could have learned. But you didn't want to go. So I says, well, there's nothing I can do. I can't force you.
You tried.
Yeah. But I says, well, maybe by elocution and by phonetically, speaking phonetically. But Jim says, Jason, he's only, 6? He's saying, but then that's Prussia. Wushka Prussia. And his mother says, what's he talking about? And Jim says, he's talking Polish. I don't know what he's saying.
Well, apparently she wasn't listening when Jim was trying to teach her, huh?
Well, the girls were in their Persian Polish. They both learned their native Susan Moy, the story. They learned it. And when Joanna was in Alaska with her boyfriend then, and he was a master chef and she was a pastry chef. And there were some Polish girls from Poland working in Alaska in the cafeteria. And she said they used to say their Persian Polish together. They knew they were that Polish. And Jenny and Joanna knew hers, but they used to say their Polish, their Persian Polish. Well, anyway, that should do it. That should do it, because my mouth is getting dry.
Not yet. You got a couple more minutes.
Oh, no.
We ain't gonna waste tape, are we? That would be a waste.
Well, then, Jim.
We only got about 4 minutes left. No, we're talking about your legacy. You say the Polish language. Well, what if that doesn't work out?
Well, I hope to instill generosity, to be generous with people, to be understanding with people, to be helpful. My mother was a volunteer at the hospital, and I picked that up, volunteering. And help wherever you can. You don't have to be asked to do things. When you see it's asked to be done, just do it.
You're probably the only person I know who goes to see people in the hospital. I mean, Jesus said go visit the sick, but you really do it. And you still do it.
What?
You visit the sick. And
Oh, yeah.
Jesus said to do that.
Oh, yeah, because when Judy's mother-in-law was in the hospital.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you know him or not, really.
Well, she said her mother-in-law was in the hospital, so I said, well, I'm working today, I'll go see her.
Huh.
So I went up to see her and talking. She said, well, who are you? I just, I'm Judy's mom. Oh. She didn't even know. So then a couple weeks later, she's back in the hospital. I went back to see her again. And I said, you must like it here. You got the same room and the same bed.
Most people
She knew me by then. But if I'm working, if I'm on duty, and I know somebody's in the hospital, I go see them. That's it. So, outside of that one.
Any parting words? Any parting words?
Well, I love my family, I love all my kids, and I'm just sorry I couldn't have done better by them because I had some personal problems and I did love give them as much love as I should have, and now I feel that they're missing out on them.
Well, I got news for you. If you would have given more love, we probably would have drowned.
Okay.
Do widzenia.
Okay. Idź z Bogiem do widzenia, do miłego zobaczenia, till we meet in heaven.
Really?
Yeah.
I got my fingers crossed.